Good morning, students. So let's continue with the validation activities. So your internal assessment is over and I hope everyone has done well. Now continuing with the last topic of validation activities that was left is acceptance testing. So prior to this acceptance testing, we have done unit testing, integration testing, functional testing, and system testing. This is the fifth activity of validation, that is acceptance testing. So what do you mean by acceptance testing? It is a formal testing conducted to determine whether a software system satisfies its acceptance criteria and to enable buyers to determine whether to accept the system or to reject it or not to accept it simply. So acceptance, from the name only it is clear whether the customer is going to accept it or he is not going to accept it, as well as all the acceptance criteria must be fulfilled. Now what is the basic purpose? The basic purpose of acceptance testing is to give the end users a chance to provide the development team with the feedback as to whether or not software meets their needs. So ultimately, the basic aim of this acceptance testing is to check whether it fulfills all the users' requirement or not. Right? So acceptance testing takes place at the end of development process. Right? So finally, this is the last testing which is carried out during the testing is the acceptance testing. So this is an end of the development process also. It consists of tests to determine whether the developed system meets the predetermined functionalities, performance, quality, and interface criteria acceptable to the user. That means we are going to check each and every parameter here. We have to check the functionality also, the performance attributes also, quality characteristics also, and the interface also. If all these are fulfilled, then only customer is going to make the decision of accepting it, right? So user acceptance and system testing. What is the difference between this acceptance testing and system testing? Simply, system testing is performed by the development team with respect to various parameters we have done in the last lecture, while this acceptance testing is done by the end users, right? So this is the basic difference between the two, the system testing by development team members, while the acceptance testing is carried out by the end users. Now, what is the basic purpose? There are four distinct purposes of this acceptance testing. First one is to determine whether the software is fit for the user, right? Second, making users confident about the product. If his all requirements are fulfilled, that means he will be confident. Determine whether a software system satisfies its acceptance criteria, right? So the satisfaction of the acceptance criteria which was laid during the SRS, that is requirements. And lastly, enable the buyer to determine whether to accept the system or not, right? So four basic things: whether the software fit for the user, making him confident, satisfies his acceptance criteria, and making the decision whether to accept it or to reject it. So this is the basic aim of carrying out acceptance testing. Now, what are the activities or the sequence of activities which are carried out during the acceptance testing? The first step is identify the interim and the final product for acceptance criteria, and the schedule. So we need to identify interim means intermediate and the final product which is to be delivered. So we have to identify the acceptance criteria and the schedule for that. Then once you identify it, then plan how and by whom each acceptance activity will be performed. So we have to plan it, how we'll be doing it, and who is going to carry out this activity. Once the planning is done, we prepare a schedule, adequate time for the customer to examine and review the product. Since customer has to perform this testing finally, so we have to give him proper time for that, right? So this is what the schedule which is meant for the end users so that they can examine and review the product. Then prepare the acceptance plan. Then perform acceptance testing at delivery, the final testing, and make a decision based on the result of acceptance testing. So first of all, identify the interim and the final product, then plan it, right? Who is going to perform it? Prepare the schedule, prepare the acceptance plan, perform acceptance testing, and finally make the decision of accepting or rejecting it. So these are the activities which are carried out during acceptance testing. Now, what is the entry and exit criteria for acceptance testing? So once you are going to carry out this acceptance testing, we have to check whether it fulfills the entry criteria, then only we can start with this, and this testing ends if it fulfills all the exit criteria. So what is the entry criteria for acceptance testing? So you can also assume it in a sequence like we did unit testing earlier, then was integration, then functional testing, then system testing, and then we are doing acceptance testing. So it is clear from the sequence that system testing must be completed, then only you can start with the acceptance testing. So let's see. System testing is complete. Okay, it is given in the first line only. System testing is complete and defects identified are either fixed or documented. Right? If this is done, along with acceptance plan is prepared and all the resources have been identified, and test environment for the acceptance testing is available. So if these three activities are done, that means entry criteria for acceptance testing is fulfilled. So what are these three? System testing must be complete and defects must be fixed or documented. Acceptance plan must be prepared and resources need to be identified, and the test environment required is ready. Then we can start with the acceptance testing. Then what is the exit criteria? So exit criteria will be when the acceptance decision is made. See, when the exit will be done when this last step of decision is carried out. So this is it, when the acceptance decision is made for the software. In case of any warning, the development team is notified. So that will be an end to your acceptance testing. Now there are two types of acceptance testing. The first was in alpha testing and the second is a beta testing. So what do you mean by alpha testing is the tests are conducted at the development site by the end users, right? So end users are going to perform this acceptance testing. This should be clear. Now, where it is carried out, that makes the difference between the two. If the end users carried out this testing at the development site, it will be an alpha testing, while if it is done at the customer site, right, by the end users only, then it is beta testing, right? So alpha testing tests are conducted at the development site by the end users. The test environment can be controlled a little in this case. Since we are carrying out this at the development site, so we have a little control on the test environment, we can vary it. But what happens in the beta testing is, since it is conducted at the customer site, right? So development team does not have any control over the test environment because test environment is created at the development site, not at the customer site. So this is the basic difference. Okay? Now let's go into detail. What is alpha testing? Alpha is the test period during which the product is complete and usable in the test environment, but not necessarily bug free, because this is the final testing that we need to carry out to check for each and every parameter, right? So what is the basic reason of carrying out this alpha testing? To give confidence that a software is in a suitable state to be seen by the customer, but not necessarily released. It's not released, but yes, customer, we can give this to the customer for testing because we ourselves have tested it properly. So we can give the confidence that the software to the end user simply. And to find the bugs that may only be found under operational conditions, right? In the development environment, we have identified as far as possible all the errors have been identified and tested. But the development environment and the operational environment is entirely different. So it might be a possibility in the operational conditions, it might give certain error or the bugs that needs to be identified. Any other major defects or the performance issue should be discovered in this stage. So finally, two reasons. First of all, to give the confidence that the software is in suitable state to be seen by the customer, and to find the bugs that may be found only under the operational conditions. Now, what is the entry and exit criteria? Right? All the features are complete and testable. That means no urgent bug is there. Right? That means system testing we have completed, starting with acceptance testing, and the first one is an alpha testing. Right? So all the features must be completed and testable. High bugs on primary platforms are fixed and verified. 50% of medium bugs on primary platforms are fixed and verified. All features have been tested on a primary platforms. Performance has been measured compared with the previous releases. Usability testing and feedback ongoing. Alpha sites are ready for installation. So ultimately, you can see just major 2 points are usability testing and feedback is ongoing, because prior to this, in the system testing, the last type of testing we did is usability. So while we are carrying out this usability testing, which is a part of system testing, and the feedback is going on, the next step will be your acceptance testing, and the first is alpha, right? So once this is going on, then we are going to start with the alpha. This will become the entry criteria, and alpha sites are ready for installation. Apart from this is related to the bugs and all. If they are being identified, they are fixed and verified. Now, what is the exit criteria? Get responses or feedback from the customer. Since they have performed the testing, they will give their feedback. Prepare a report of any serious bug being noticed. If they have identified any error, a report must be prepared for that. Notify bug fixing issues to the developer, right? Who is going to fix the issues, or if there is any error? Tester is going to test it. But if it is a error which is relevant to some other phases, then you have to identify the developers whosoever is concerned for that, right? So this is the exit criteria: getting the feedback, preparing a report, and notifying the bug to the developer. Last one, that is beta testing. Once the alpha testing is complete, development enters the beta phase. So beta is a test period during which the product should be complete and usable in a production environment. So it is now finally complete, it is tested. Now it can be, you can say, operational in the production environment. Right? The purpose of the beta ship and test period is to test the company's ability to deliver and support the product, and not to test the product itself. So it's not basically relevant to the testing. Though we floated in the market the release, we give the release in the market and allow the users to work on it, right, and get the feedback in the runtime environment, but it is basically concerned with the support of the product, right? It also serves as a chance to get a final vote of confidence from a few customers to help validate our own belief that the product is now ready for volume shipment to all the customers. So a bit of testing is also carried out just to increase the final vote of confidence. Version of the software known as beta versions are released to a limited audience outside the company to ensure the product has few or no bugs. That means testing is also carried out along with the support activities. Now, what is the entry and exit criteria? So simple: positive responses from the alpha site. Customers' bugs in alpha testing have been addressed. There are no fatal errors which can affect the functionality of the software. Secondary platform compatibility testing is complete. Regression testing corresponding to bug fix has been done, and beta sites are ready for installation. So this becomes the entry criteria. Finally, the exit criteria: you will get the response and the feedback from the beta testers. You will be preparing the report, and you have to notify the bug fixing issues to the developers. So this becomes the entry and exit criteria. Finally, the guidelines: don't expect to release new builds to beta tester more than once every 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, that is a span of 14 days, only one release should be given to the beta testers. Don't plan a beta with fewer than 4 releases. That means 4 release or 4 builds must be there in one beta version minimum. If you add a feature, even a small one, during the beta process, the clock goes back to the beginning of 8 weeks. And you need another 3 to 4 releases for that. So try to avoid the changes during the beta phase. Once you are ready with everything, then only allow it to enter into beta version. So that's all about your validation activities, right? Now we'll be starting with the 5th unit from the next lecture onwards. So by the time you go on revising it, if you have any doubt, you can just ask anytime. Thank you.